What's up, War Report family? I am your host, C Dub. Now that the transfer portal has closed, we want to ask you, which portal pickup are you the most excited about heading into spring? Also, Auburn basketball improves to 16-3 overall, 6-1 in the conference. A lot of tough games are ahead, but we want to ask you, is this team improving, and do you think they can make a run in the SEC? We'll answer those questions and much more in the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
You are now listening to a War Report Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by
Athletic Architect.
It's your boy, I Jones. Be Will, C-Dog, Mike G. Get ready, sit on back as we bring you the War Report Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle to all. Happy Sunday. All four of us are here. Welcome to the latest Weekend Tailgate. We want to shout out our show sponsor, Athletic Architects. Please be sure to visit buildthehouse.com so that you can begin planning your financial future. Or if you're just looking to get your LLC off the ground, we want to show so much love to Athletic Architects for being a sponsor of today's show. And while we're in the mood of giving out love, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us as well. Do us a favor, share this content on social media so that people can find us, help us grow, guys. Also, smash that like button. Help us with the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Tell a friend. We're trying to get the 10K subscribers just because it means so much to us. It's important. Help us out. Also, you can also become a paid member and get access to some of the dope content Ike is dropping behind the paywall. Ike, what you dropping, bro?
I'm dropping everything like it's hot. It's all getting dropped. Nah, man, we're doing a good job. We're getting some film stuff going on out there, man. You guys come check out the film. Become a member of the War Report to get access to that film review stuff. Make no mistake, film is the only thing that stays behind the paywall for people who have thought otherwise out there in the land of social media. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, you could do that right now from the live chat. We appreciate those of you who have done that. We've see you guys out there gifting memberships during our lives, and we appreciate you guys adding to the War Report family. Today, we're giving away a mug. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up, sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Go ahead and throw that hashtag in the live chat to be eligible to get this. You have to be present to win, and we'll do that drawing right around the 1 hour mark. But let's get to it,
gentlemen. How are we doing? Doing good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
Not bad. Okay.
Enjoying playoff football.
Yeah. I'm looking for, these are two monster matchups tonight, actually.
Yeah.
So we get Cowboys versus Eagles and Bengals versus Bills today.
Who did we get, Mike?
Cowboys 49ers.
49ers, I'm sorry. And Bengals Bills today. So, like, I'm looking forward to some football for sure.
Trying to see if Ike was going to roll his eyes at you.
The Cowboys won a playoff game.
I mean, that was like the worst playoff team in a minute. Tampa Bay was. I don't know if we want to give that Tampa Bay team too much credit.
They made quick work
it's
of
a good
Tampa.
Cowboys team, man. Looking forward to the game today.
That gonna do in the shit.
Yo, is it me or his like Ike become captain coach speak?
Yeah,
since
right.
The playoffs began.
Yeah,
No, he don't want to say
Respect
nothing
our
about it.
opponent.
He just wants his team to win. He don't want to talk about it. He just wants the
know-
game to happen. And he want to win.
Yeah. You know, Dak Prescott is a hell of a quarterback. And
He is, man. He's a really talented
Collins.
quarterback, man. Strong arm. He's dangerous when he's outside the pocket. They got a lot of good weapons. CeeDee Lamb is a hell of a receiver.
Oh, damn. Laughing still hurts.
Yeah, got a good defense. They're fast. They flow to the ball really effectively.
Oh my God.
Pass rush, you can't get in long down and distance situations against this team. They're going to bring pressure. We got to make good decisions, play smart football.
Yeah.
You know, he sound
Okay.
like when Nick Saban be previewing like Western Carolina for the week. We trying to hype up that. Like, this ain't no real game, Nick. You ain't got to do that, dog. You ain't got to do
No,
that.
man, listen, Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in football right now. He's going to be somebody that they got to pay attention to. They've
That's
got a
true,
strong
though.
defensive line.
Parsons
Got a lot of
nice.
ball hawks on the back end, secondary.
All right, bro. We get it.
Okay, we get it.
I don't
We
wanna
get
hear
it.
none
We
of
get
that.
it.
I don't wanna
We
hear
get
none
it.
of that, man.
What we need to do is go live after the game tonight and hear your real feelings and thoughts.
That's what it'll
That's
be.
what we need to do. That's what
we
we
need to watch like the last 5 minutes. If the game goes like I think it's gonna go, which it should be like a 8-9 point game, the last quarter. Once it's pretty clear that Dallas is not gonna be able to make that comeback, that last drive when Dak throw that pick, or they get that fumble, you know what I'm saying? San Francisco defense lock it down. Then we need Ike on camera to react. And he's like, I told y'all. That's what
Wait. Ike, is the game today going to be? Is it going to be an ugly game? Is it going to be Purdy?
I hope Brock Purdy plays a good game.
Okay.
He probably going to be
I like what you did,
challenge.
Can't get nothing at this guy.
Listen, man, it's a very opportunistic Dallas Cowboys defense.
Okay.
Didn't they get dinged up though? A couple players got dinged up in their last game. I'm not sure.
For Dallas.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure. I mean,
All right.
listen, man, it's
talk some Auburn football.
NFL football, man.
Let's transition to Auburn. All right, guys.
We still like football though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to ask you before we start talking about the portal, guys. Auburn had some visitors from future classes, 2024, 2025. Ryan Williams, who's a legacy, I believe. He's committed to Bama. We also had Alvin Henderson, running back. We had a few other guys highly recruited. One of the common things that they've said is it seems different around here. They enjoyed their visit. And one of the things that we knew was different just based on how the portal pickups were going. But it's always interesting to hear the perspective from high schoolers and recruits. And they are echoing the same sentiment. How does that make you guys feel knowing that it really is a change at Auburn? Go ahead, Mike.
One of the greatest selling points of Auburn has always been Auburn itself. So getting guys on campus. Now, listen, I know every school claims this. Every school claims it. Every school thinks their campus environment is the greatest campus environment ever. But Auburn has something really special, and I think you hear it more from recruits after the visit. It feels like home. It feels like family. When I was, and this will hit for B and Ike too, because you guys have probably been down to Auburn more than Caesar has in the last 12 months. But when I was driving to campus, I forgot what a beautiful campus Auburn has. The campus itself is gorgeous.
I'm still familiar.
That walk from the hill to about the foyer area was still dangerous, but I mean, it was in terms of just keeping overall campus experience. They did a great job just putting the campus together. And I think
they've increased the on-campus experience a lot more with the cohesive way that they've tied some stuff. It's a more walkable campus now.
It's phenomenal.
They started working on that before, as we were beginning to transition out of Auburn.
Hey, listen, but when I was looking at colleges, when I went to Alabama for the first time and walked, I was like, what is this? Why is everything so far from everything else? It was stupid. They put that. I mean, clearly the engineers, a civil engineer, is not great there because their campus is it's ridiculously put together. They had this ridiculous tram that used to go from like Rose Towers to to the middle of campus. But Auburn has always had, I think, that over other schools. When you come on campus, it's like driving into another world because we call it the plains. And when you are coming off that highway from seemingly nowhere, and you had to drive through Montgomery, and then you get to Auburn, it's like, I mean, I think it's one of the biggest selling points. Then you get there, and things like Big Cat Weekend. I'm going to be interested to see if Hugh Freeze reinvents that or goes with the status quo.
I am curious if he's going to rebrand that.
Yeah, like Big Cat Weekend, and you take all those things and you put it together with an experience like Big Cat. And it just makes you wonder what the last staff was doing in recruiting. That's it. Now, we hung in there with them as long as we could because they brought in some game changers. Keontae Scott, Jarquez Hunter, those guys are good. DJ James. But past the one deep,
yeah,
it wasn't a whole lot.
Right.
And you got one of the greatest campuses in America. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. One of the greatest campuses in America. And you couldn't sell it to the backups. Come on, man.
Yeah, I think again, it's difficult to. I don't think that they got the correct immersion when they first came in the last staff. Right, they had to do all the virtual crap when they first got in, and they didn't get the opportunity to really know how to get their first pass at selling Auburn as a campus on its own. But I said this before. I think the issue with the last staff was a lack of urgency. They felt like they had time to like get acclimated and get in and change this culture thing and do. And it's just like you don't have that. You don't have the luxury of time that you think you do. And that is ultimately what their undoing was. It just, the urgency wasn't there. And you have to have urgency, especially in this conference.
Right. Yeah. And the only thing that could bridge, it was either going to be big wins to get from I'm going to buy myself the time to recruit exactly how I want to recruit. It was either going to be big wins or you were going to have to do some phenomenal selling. And I mean that as a double entendre. And they apparently couldn't do either one. So, yeah.
Yeah. And again, for me, it feels good knowing that these players actually see a change, because I think Ryan Williams committed to Bama after he visited Auburn in the fall. I think he attended, may have been the Arkansas game, and I think he committed to Bama days later.
Yeah, you see that game from us. That's when it really all fell apart. I wouldn't commit to Auburn either after to see that game. Yeah.
So I think it's good to see that these guys are noticing a change with this coaching staff, and a lot of people are making a connection to the head coach. That's something else that stands out as well. Like, these guys are actually speaking well of the head coach, not just their position coaches, the head coach. And so I think that's pretty. I'm happy to see that Hugh Freeze is taking an active role in recruiting as well. So
yeah, I mean, look, Hugh Freeze has he's got a job to do. To live up to his, to live up to his promise as a guy who turns programs around quickly. You can't turn a program around quickly without recruiting, without getting guys on campus and getting the right guys to help you do that.
For sure.
So it starts with developing the team that you have, getting the most out of them, and then putting something on the field that shows these recruits that you know what the hell you're doing. That's it. That's the bottom line. So, some guys there were still some recruits based on some decommitments we had for 2024 that were sold on the Brian Harsin way.
Right.
They still were, even in spite of a midseason firing and on-field lack of results.
Right.
But Hugh Freeze has a chance to hit the reset button, I think, especially in this first recruiting class. If you can sell, you don't have, beside those last 4 games at Liberty, but I don't think recruits are going to be focused on that too much. You don't have any negatives at Auburn to point back to. You just got a few big wins. I mean, he's still living on successes from like 2016. People are still talking about them back-to-back wins versus Bama.
I mean, has anybody else done it? Even Gus, for what he was able to show when he did beat Saban. Did he beat him in back-to-back years?
Nope. Couldn't do it. So Hugh Freeze has some things that he can tout to recruits. I can field a team that can beat Nick Saban. I've done it in the SEC, and I'll do it again if you come to Auburn. Hell of a recruiting pitch.
Yeah, and
right.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about this as we talk about the difference between Brian Harsin and Hugh Freeze, and even Gus Malzahn and Hugh Freeze to a certain extent. Gus was he's more personable in person. At least he seems to be more personable in person. But when he was talking football or doing football, he was always just looked like work. At press conferences, work. He was very rarely smiling. It looked like he was enjoying himself. And Harsin looked like he was all business, almost too much business. Hugh Freeze seems to have a more just approachable demeanor. He seems to be more of a people person than either one of those guys. And that's something that I think I discounted for the last few years is,
me too.
Does it matter to recruits that you're cool to shake your hand and have a conversation with you? You're not training me every day. Like my position coach, I see the need to get along with my position coach, like what you were saying, Mike, or I can't remember which one, but that makes sense to me. The head coach is like, all right, like you're running the ship, but how much does that affect me? Right. If I'm at work, do I care that the person that the CEO is a guy I'd want to hang out with? Not really. It's like, who's right over me? Because they're going to dictate more. Are y'all going to make it hard for me to thrive here or easy for me to thrive here? But for kids and parents, apparently it makes a lot more impact than I thought it did. And because people come out there with nothing but good things to say about Hugh Freeze, the man himself.
And B, but if you're a quarterback, it's positions coach and head coach. You ain't escaping them, right? So you need that relationship with the head coach. You know, so I've been back in the South since the end of October. And one of the things that I forgot about people in the South is that everybody will talk to you. Everybody will talk to you about anything. Yesterday, I left the house to go exchange something at Hibbett's, right? And this lady walked up to me, and I was wearing this hoodie, and you know, I was fitted. I had an Adidas fit going on today. It was fly. And she said, "That's a nice hoodie." Before the end of the conversation, I had the name of her doctor, just in case I ever break up with my doctor, right? And 2 other recommendations for specialists. And she was talking to me about my diagnosis. I don't even know how we ended up in the conversation, right? We had to move to the side so people could check out. And when I got in the car, I was telling my mom, I was like, "Oh, this lady I met at the store gave me a recommendation for another doctor just in case I need one." And I'm thinking, this is something that never happens in DC, right? And if it does, not as frequently. So when I'm thinking back to, you know, when Kobe Hudson said, he's from the North, I'm from the South, 2 fingers, I'm out, right? He was talking about being able to be relatable and talk to people. And I think that is something that Hugh Freeze has. So when people say he's not from this region, now you don't have to be from here to be successful.
Right.
Let's be clear, right? But you do have to understand that relationships matter, and you have to be personable, and you have to be friendly, and you have to be somebody who is charismatic. He seems to have that.
Or you need to be fantastic at the job itself to the point where everybody wants to get on board.
For real.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like, I mean, because if you're not going to be that, you better be real good at everything else.
Right.
You better be real good at everything.
But that was the essential problem. Like and this is something that that Cole mentioned. I think it was Cole when we were talking to him. He's like the question is, what was he good at? Right? Like, what was the thing that he was ultimately really good at? He was kind of good at a couple of things, but that ain't enough when you're really bad at other stuff, right? Like you've got to, you know, when you like, it's like building player attributes in a game, right? It's like you can't have everything mid. Like something got to be extraordinary about you in order
be
for
a whole
you
ass mid.
Yeah, it's like everything can't be. So
hey, that was my 2K player. He was good, eyed at everything because I'm on the team. I'm on the team. I'm just trying to be on the team. That's all I'm trying to be.
But I think too, guys, I think you do have to have a lot of the personality just because you're walking into recruits' homes.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be able to sell the program, which means you have to have the ability to connect with people.
Well, Caesar, part of getting recruits is winning over the parents as well.
Right. Right.
Because they're not going to turn their child over to you if they don't like you. Or if they get a funny feeling about you, or they're like, he don't feel like family. Right? I don't know what this guy's going to do with my kid. Or we don't share the same values.
Right.
Which can be somewhat of a regional thing.
Right.
Auburn resides in the Bible Belt.
Yes.
If you come from outside that region, you need to know who you're talking to. You need to know what messages resonate. And you need to know how to articulate those messages clearly enough so that people understand that you get it. You get what it's like to be an inner city kid getting your shot to play D1 football. I'm going to make sure he takes care of his academics. I'm going to make sure that he turns out to be just an outstanding citizen, human being. And I'm going to take the work you've already done with your kid, raising a great child. I'm going to make him an excellent man. That's what you have to sell to parents. You're going to do better with my child, maybe even than I did, with the resources and the amount of time that you're going to spend with him. Because you know what happens is most of those parents spend all their time at work trying to make ends meet. And and the school system is left to raise the child. But they do such a poor job in inner city schools that when these kids get a shot and these parents are turning their kids over to a college coach, sell it. And not only sell it, be about it. It has to feel real. It can't feel like a sales pitch. It has to feel like you mean it, that you actually care.
Right.
If my child comes here, you're going to keep the promises that you made to me in my living room after we signed that letter of intent. But it happens so often that they don't keep those promises.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And parents vent on social media, and they go on a tirade, and then their child transfers out.
Right.
Now, it's not always the coach's fault, but, you know.
Yeah, but that becomes doubly important in this era, right? Because you have to not only sell an initial vision, but the follow through has to be there because these kids can leave, right? Like it's no longer sell them to get them in the door. You need to be selling something that's real because they will quickly say, "Nah, this ain't what I signed up for," and peace out on you. Right. So you've got to figure, and it's so hard in the era of the transfer portal as well to get attracted by the shiny new kid in the portal too, that you forget about the kid that you sold last year when he was coming in as a freshman and not say to him, I know I told you it was going to be your time, but you got to wait one more year. Or we're going to bring in this kid that's a senior with 1 year. And now he's looking, before we even get into spring, he's looking at the roster and he's like, where am I going to get my playing time at? Like, I know I'm a redshirt freshman, but how do I play in this environment where you guys are coveting experience? So you gotta sell it double.
For sure. And that's something I'm starting to worry about because not because Heath Freeze has a negative track record with that, but we have so much talent. Defensive back, I know Zach Etheridge is the best recruiter. that's hyperbole. He is an outstanding recruiter. If we had stopped at signing day, I'd been like, oh man, defensive backfield is set. We are good. And then we did all this flip, and I was like, where are these guys going to play? Who are they going to play for?
Right.
We're going to have the realest scout team in America. Like, how is it supposed to work? And I'm wondering, and this is not really our job to wonder, it's just to see if they can pull it off. How do you find snaps for all those guys, keep them happy enough to stick around and keep playing? Because there's no way you can get all these guys a bunch of snaps.
But you're not. Listen, this is the problem Nick Saban has. It's the problem that Ryan Day has. It's the problem that any top 5 recruiting team Georgia has. You're not going to keep everybody on your team. What you have to do is you have to pick the right one first and foremost. Because I'll tell you what, it's easier to stick around as a backup when the starter is killing it.
Right.
When you feel like the guy in front of you is at least equal to or better than you. So it makes sense. Because I'm sure there were a couple guys maybe sitting behind Stetson Bennett when he used to have them 12 pass games thinking, I could do better than that. Last year, the backup was just like, man, he's killing it. Right? If you were backing up CJ Stroud, you're just like, hey, he's good. Right? If you were backing up the kid who won the Heisman, why do I always forget his name? Caleb Williams, right? I almost called him Gabriel. I don't know why. Caleb Williams, same thing. He won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Could come to Auburn, but all right.
Pac-12.
Right, yeah, Pac-12 defenses, if you were backing him up, then you were content to back him up and then work to be the heir apparent.
Right.
That's what it is. Jalen Milroe was just fine sitting behind Bryce Young. But I'll tell you what, after Bryce is gone, which is this year, he's like, it better be my time up.
Right.
Because I just sat there and waited behind this Heisman winner. I learned from him. I learned from you. And now it's my time. And let's be clear. He went out and won a game. He had to go out.
Didn't look great. But
okay, but I'm
no,
just
but
saying,
see, but that's exactly my point about like being a transfer kid. Like, look up Jackson Dart, perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
What did Jackson Dart do to deserve? What did he do to deserve them going out and getting Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard? in the offseason. Like I know the backup got up out of there, but you brought in 2 quarterbacks, bro, and one of them is a senior. What did? And I just transferred here.
Yeah, because Spencer Sanders is like, yeah, I haven't seen nothing special on tape from Jackson Dart, so I can beat that guy this spring. Right? He's got to be that.
And so not just Jackson Dart, but like if you were anybody else as a quarterback on that roster, you got to be thinking to yourself, I'm out of here.
Right.
They don't believe in me.
Right.
I don't have a shot here. They just brought in a 5-star kid with a bunch of eligibility. They got Jackson Dart sitting here, and they have a senior that they want to come. I'm out.
I mean, the only thing that says to me is that I think Spencer Sanders didn't have a better deal on the table. Is really
he didn't. He didn't.
I mean, he didn't. But like, still, again, I'm not thinking about Spencer Sanders in this scenario.
You just think about the guys
Dart
on the current roster at Ole Miss and how they feel knowing that you brought in a young guy and a senior.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think Jackson Dart and Spencer Sanders are more of the same type of dude to me. Jackson Dart didn't throw a bunch of INTs, but I think Lane
Spencer Sanders is way more athletic than Jackson Dart couldn't imagine to be.
He is. I mean, their overall efficiency. So if you take all the INTs he's thrown,
Spencer Sanders is more athletic.
Spencer Sanders and Jackson Dart. Like Jackson Dart didn't really throw it downfield a lot, but it seems like Lane Kiffin didn't really want him to. And I wonder if that's why you go and get a quarterback. You get a quarterback who you can trust to push the ball downfield. Jackson Dart shouldn't have been running that much. He's not that kind of quarterback. And that's what was weird about what he did. Like Corral pushed the ball downfield more, and he ran better than Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart was a clear downgrade.
Jackson Dart seemed like a weird fit for Lane Kiffin to be.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie.
Right. So Sanders seems like more of a fit, but he also has a higher downside with the turnovers. So if you're not even a 2-1 TD to INT ratio as a senior, it's like insurance. Like maybe you can coach him down and out of those mistakes, kind of like what Jimbo did for Kellen Mond in Kellen Mond's final year. It's like, all right, now everything else is going to be just controlled enough where you don't have to do so much and mess up so much. You're still just okay. You're still not a special player, but I'm going to manage this to where if you just use what you're good at, I'm going to cut down on your propensity to make mistakes, and I'll get a serviceable quarterback out of this. But between them, I think Sanders or Dart is probably a backup either way.
Right. For sure. I agree.
Yeah, right. I'd say it's just, to me, it's rough, man. It's rough being in that scenario, especially as a quarterback, in that particular scenario where they brought in a bunch of eligibility and a dude with no eligibility, and you're sandwiched right there in between as the incumbent starter. Not as a dude who's just been sitting on the bench. Like, you started every game last year for the team, and they were like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Robbie Asher, like, I told y'all I wasn't nobody out there better than me. All right. They bring in nobody because I'm that dude.
Let's grab some of the comments. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Cleveland Brown says, random suggestion: go from Big Cat Weekend to Freeze Festival.
That's cool. Only thing I don't like about that is it's not Auburn. Like, we don't want to make it about the identity of the coach. Like, that's cool and it sounds good. I mean, for maybe like I don't know, but yeah, it the identity still needs to be uniquely Auburn, and it should outlive that coach.
Yeah, because if he gets fired, then we're gonna have to rebrand, and like you got a bunch of Freeze like branded stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean it's clever, but. Yeah, it needs to be about Auburn for sure.
Brian Brock says he's part of the replay gang. He's finally catching a live.
Hey,
good to have you watching with us, sir. Appreciate the super chat.
Welcome.
War Eagle to you, sir. Steve Bradley says, I say we'll get 5 stars next year. How you guys feel about this? Been a minute.
Hey, listen, put a result on the field. That win 8 games. Here's what I think: win 8 or 9 games. And go 2 for 2 in November, and they'll get some 5 stars in. I think they got to go 2 for 2 in November. Find a way to win 2 of those games. So right now that means beating A&M, Bama. Who else we play in November?
Some cupcake and
some cupcake.
Yeah,
right.
Sometimes Mississippi State, depending on how they do.
Yeah, like Mississippi State is a late season game now, right? So go 2 for 2 in November. But it can't be like Mississippi State in a cupcake. excluding those two.
So,
So really go 3 for 1 in November.
I'm about to say 3 for 1, and 3-1 is what
Okay,
you
fair.
want.
Yeah, fair enough. Go 3 for 1 and 5-star Central. I think. You know,
I don't even think it's going to take that.
and be competitive with Bama. Be competitive with Bama. Put something on the field, right?
Sure.
Don't get run off the field.
Let's
I
see.
think
The November schedule as it stands right now, which they won't change this, but November 4th is Vanderbilt, November 11th is Arkansas, 18th is New Mexico State, and the 25th is Bama. So you've got 5 games in November.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Wow. That schedule that's the easiest November I've ever heard of.
Wow. That means our October is going to be tougher than usual then.
October
October
is
has
LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State.
But our
Wait.
Octobers have been tough for like the past 2 years, though.
Okay, so we're going Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Cupcake, Bama.
Yep.
Yikes.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey.
listen, you got to win 4. You got to win 4 of those, right?
Oh no, man! After hearing that, you better get 9 next year.
So I'm saying, like, you got to beat Vandy.
Okay.
You should beat Arkansas. Well, I don't know what Arkansas is going to look like. They
Oh, we do,
KJ
yeah.
supposed to be
back?
coming back, but
Lost both coordinators though.
Yeah.
I mean, well, one coordinator is the head coach now, but still. New
Wait, for
Mexico
Arkansas?
State.
For Arkansas?
Oh,
He's a head
Arkansas, I'm
coach.
thinking about
He's
Mississippi State, yeah.
he took a head coach job, but he's
Yeah,
gone.
that's correct. Yeah, nah. So yeah, Arkansas lost both coordinators. Vandy lost their starting quarterback. New Mexico State, there's no way they should win that game. Yeah, you should win 3 of these 4, and 2 of them ought to be impressive wins.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting.
Now, I mean, what an opportunity to possibly, if you're hot, because it's a home game this year in the Iron Bowl, to close out the year with 4 straight wins.
Is the T-Will factor gonna matter at all in that Arkansas game?
Not.
Oh,
You're still going to be limited by what you have in talent though. That's really the.
I mean,
biggest thing.
Arkansas's not without talent.
They're not without
But they
talent.
lose a lot. This it's almost break time because I wanted to talk about Arkansas
And it's a home game for Arkansas.
after the break. That don't matter.
What? You don't think home matters?
We'll
Home field
probably,
advantage?
but my thing is because it's late in the
Interesting.
year, we probably would have figured out a lot of things offensively as well.
Right.
You pray prayerfully.
Yeah. That's the hope is we're not being like, I don't know why we hired this guy. Maybe we should have gone after Dion. Yeah, I agree with you. Late in the year, you hope that it's come together. You hope that your quarterback is healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, ideally, if you're 2 things, right? If you're finishing the season with the guy you started the season with, that quarterback, he's either doing really well or the guy behind him is not better, or you don't have any depth.
Yeah.
So I hope it's the first and not the latter, and we'll see how that goes. But late season, I agree. Or Caesar.
Imani Smoot says, I expect
Yes.
15-0 with Robbie as a
My
Heisman
God.
candidate. Hugh Freeze,
Yes.
Coach of the Year. Who else winning awards?
Okay, so Imani is saying what everybody thought I was saying in my tweet
Right.
about Robbie.
100%.
I was just saying, I think he has Heisman talent. I think he has more than 1 year left in college football. Now, I didn't state that, but I thought that would be implied. Apparently, it was not for some people. And I think that he should be at the very least all SEC. People skipped over that part of the sentence for some reason as well, too.
I mean, so
Online, man.
we could
People
have a
always do that.
conversation about. So let's think about incumbent quarterbacks in the SEC, because I had this conversation on the Amen Corner Pod talking about the SEC East,
Right.
That was a
and
good
how
episode,
the
by the way.
only returning quarterback in the SEC East is going to be South Carolina's. It's the only one.
Yeah, boy.
Everybody else in the
Your boy.
everybody else in the SEC East is going to have a new starter at quarterback
Wait,
that season.
is Hendon Hooker going pro?
Yeah.
He's out of eligibility.
Yeah, he don't have any more
Okay,
eligibility.
yeah,
He's
so
done.
he's going. Okay.
Yeah, so literally, there's no team in the SEC East that will start an incumbent starter. You move over to the West.
Wait, did Brady Cook leave Missouri?
I don't know. That's the only one I wasn't sure about, if whether or not Brady. I don't know, but I don't know what. Who cares?
Does Joe Milton have eligibility left?
Yeah, Joe Milton's going to be
Yes.
there next year.
Yeah.
He's the
I mean,
starter next year for Tennessee.
he's kind of like a halfway incumbent,
Man,
I
get
guess.
that out of here. But yeah, so SEC East, South Carolina's the only guy that's got their guy coming
He
back.
started the season for them.
He
He's
started,
still there,
and he was terrible that
No
season.
such
I don't
thing
think.
as
I think
halfway
Joe
crooks.
Milton wants you to forget that season.
yeah.
But the SEC West, as far as starting quarterbacks, KJ Jefferson, if he sticks around, there's speculation that because his offensive coordinator left for TCU that he may go there, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But LSU will have an incumbent starter.
Jaden Daniels.
That might be it besides Auburn.
And then Robbie. So that's 3, right? If Jackson Dart wins the job,
I don't
know.
It's not looking good. Is all I'm saying. Like,
right,
I know there's a
right.
camp battle that's got to happen. It's not looking good
Right.
that they want Jackson Dart to be the guy.
Well, that's 4 teams. There are 3 more teams. So we know
Mississippi
Will
State.
Rogers.
We know
is going pro.
Right. We know Bama's going to be starting somebody new. And then,
right.
And then Kentucky is replacing. No, they're East.
Kentucky's in the East.
Who's Texas A&M? Who's the quarterback there?
It's a good question because
Wegman
right? Started games at the end of the season.
They went out and got a portal guy.
Yeah, but so
they did.
Question here: does Max Johnson still have eligibility?
I think he does.
So it's going to be a battle in the spring as to whether or not it's Max Johnson or Wegman. I think Wegman's the better player.
They still have a battle in the
so
spring.
We don't
because
really
Johnson was hurt last year. That's why he lost the job.
Correct. That's why I said it's still got to be a battle in the spring for them because it's going to be a Max Johnson, Connor Wegman battle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So my point in all of that was when you start talking about the potential for all SEC, it's got to be an unknown entity or somebody who we've known but stepped up into the place. I don't know who's the great quarterback right now in the SEC. KJ Jefferson?
That's TBD.
Yeah.
I guess they'll probably say KJ Jefferson. But what about I think Daniels.
When we go to SEC Daniels.
I think Daniels.
When we go to SEC media days, it's going to be interesting who first team all SEC quarterback gets selected, and will they just go with this guy is coming into his senior year, and we know Daniels right now I think is probably the front runner for that. They're going to give Milton some hype around it just because he's in that system.
They're going to give Milroe hype too.
Yeah,
they're going to give they're going to give Milroe hype.
They will.
He'll be all SEC just because of what Bama has been doing with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I mean, think about the last 3 or 4.
Spencer Rattler ought to feel disrespected by this, by the way, but
who cares?
I mean, I don't.
You
care.
do?
I'm just saying he should.
All right. Alan Berry says if I was Walker Howard, I would at least took a look at Auburn, but then again, I don't know if his family would approve.
I don't know that made a lot of sense for him coming to Auburn.
Who is his family? I don't know what that was. That relevant?
I was going to ask the question.
I don't know. I don't know the storylines for Walker Howard.
Yeah, Alan, fill us in the comments. Yeah, I'm interested to hear that perspective.
Lisa Wise says regarding Robbie's season next year, Wendell Green is a great example of what good health, development, and game maturity can do.
Listen, something can click. Something can click. I know we're going to talk about it later, but Janai Broom is right-handed, right?
He's left-handed.
He's left-handed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So then my next statement, because I saw that alley-oop that we had, it was like, I mean, it was ridiculous. I just thought it was ridiculous. I mean, it was so laid up there perfectly by Wendell, and then he one-handed it with his left hand, and I thought, man.
We're going to definitely talk about Wendell.
Yeah, but to our point, though, I know it's a different sport, but yes, for an athlete, something can turn on at some point mid-season, right? For Robbie, we hope it's from game 1. We hope that it's mid between seasons. And then in the spring, we see what it looks like. Development, game maturity. So, without the injuries, this spring, he should look pretty polished. That's the hope for Hugh Freeze, especially since you didn't pick anybody up. And there's no guarantee that you're going to pick up somebody that can really challenge him. Because here's what Robbie Ashford does. He makes defenses play you honest in today's college football. When you have to account for the quarterback with his legs, I mean, really account for him. Stetson Bennett was sneaky good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whenever you forgot he could run, he burned you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? For Robbie, it's different because they're going to be keying on that.
Right.
I think. But the more he sits back in the pocket and delivers the football and lulls you to sleep with his arm, when he takes off, it's going to be 40 or 50-yard gains all day.
For sure.
And first downs. So,
guys, you're watching the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Athletic Architects. Do us a favor, guys. Share this content. We need you to do that on social media. Smash the like button. Help us with the algorithm. And also subscribe. Help us get to 10K. The quest for 10K continues. Help us get there. We're going to pause, pay some bills, and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial futures, let Athletic Architects help you start to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2Energy.com.
Always a big shout out and thank you to the sponsors of the War Report, and thank you to those of you who have decided to come on board and be members of the War Report. Gonna keep dropping these film reviews for you guys, but getting good feedback from y'all about the film reviews. Listen, man, when I do film review sessions now, man, we're just turning on the film and watching together. So you guys get to see literally my unfiltered thoughts as I'm watching this stuff unfold on the film. So it's always good. I've got some great stuff coming up. We are in the midst of defensive film. So we're taking a look at Ron Roberts' defensive film from Baylor. So we'll get back into that. We're looking at the Baylor versus Oklahoma game from 2021 right now. So we'll get back into that next week. And I got some great content coming for you all on some other things soon. So join and be a part of that membership situation. If you are a member and want to gift a membership to someone else, you can do that right now from the live chat. They get the first month of their War Report membership on you. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the comments to be able to be eligible to win a mug, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services, continuing to support the War Report and these giveaways. So hashtag get your weight up right now to be able to get in on that giveaway for us. And if you want to listen in audio format to any of this stuff we've got going on, mostly the morning drops. If you guys aren't in on the morning drop's been great conversations every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. But we are repackaging that stuff as pod as well. We have audio only content that you can only get on pod. That is the Amen Corner. That's Mike, Mac, and Memes. That's Lobtown. All of those things dropping exclusively for you as the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. Make sure that you all are locked in with that, and we certainly appreciate that support as well.
Well, gentlemen, listen. Let's talk about the portal. We talked about recruiting and the rosters and looking forward to spring. But Auburn did fairly well in the portal in the offseason. Picked up some guys, and according to whatever service you're looking at, Auburn was top 2, top 3 in terms of schools and portal pickups. So with that, I want to ask you, gentlemen, let's pick an offensive guy and a defensive guy. Let's do this.
One of each?
One of each.
Okay.
Which pickup were you the most excited about going into spring? And this could be for various reasons. You think this guy is going to win a starting job, be a difference maker. But when they announced this particular guy, or if you went back and looked at the overall list of who we picked up in the portal, you was like, yeah, I like this one. Mm-hmm. Let's do offense first. Offensive guy, who are you most excited about? I'm going to go with B.
I do.
Go ahead, go ahead, Mike.
Stupid jerk. No, I'm going. I'll sit in my head. I'll wave in my hands. So he's going to go to Ike and Brian. After our interview, Ike and I's interview with Cole Kublik, I'm actually excited about the kid from South Florida, Batee.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? Like they said, dynamic with the ball in his hands. Maybe a special team specialist that can come in and make a difference on special teams. So I don't know. Did he return punts, Ike, at South Florida?
Yeah.
He did?
And kickoffs.
And kickoffs. So, like, I'm excited about that, too. So having a sure-handed guy at punt return that can properly judge whether it's a fair catch, let the ball go out the back, or I'm about to make a play. I'm about to make a big play in the special teams. I think it could be game-changing for Hugh Freeze in year one. Because think about it. As many close games as Auburn played last year, even when they were so dysfunctional, the loss to LSU, right? The loss to Mississippi State, right? The win against Texas A&M. A big special teams play could be the difference between plus or minus 2 wins. It's the SEC West, baby. So it's going to be tough.
I like that pick.
It's going to be tough. So I like the kid, the young, well, he's not young, but I like the transfer from South Florida for this.
We're all old, Mike. They're all young now to us.
Yeah. Yeah. My nephew's in college. He's his age. So yes, you're right. We're all old.
Yes, we are. I like that just because of what he does in special teams, what he brings to that.
Sure.
Is that means our days of seeing Ike's guy Keontae Scott return punts, are those days numbered?
I think so.
Listen, as long as we have a playmaker back there, man,
I don't think Keontae's
make plays in another way.
Yeah, I don't think Keontae's going to care because he's not a threat to take his job on defense.
Plays in the secondary.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So,
B, who you got?
Offense is Fairweather. We haven't had consistent production at tight end. Shanker was more of a pass catcher than a blocker, but he also dropped a lot of passes as a pass catcher. For somebody who our passing game wasn't great and it wasn't consistent, but it really didn't matter who the quarterback was. Shanker, he put the ball on the ground a little bit. And Fairweather is a very athletic big guy with good hands. And what that can do for an offense, I want you to think about Georgia's offense, right? We sitting here talking about, well, yeah, when Stetson Bennett was really going, he was kind of slinging it. But you forget that he can scramble. You know why? The offense is wide open because they've got to cover every athlete on the field. McConkey had some of that speed and some of that he can get behind guys. And listen, not McConkey. What's the other guy, the tight end for Georgia?
Washington.
That was the one from the year before, because Washington just started playing this year. He played last year too. Bowers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Listen, man.
Brock Bowers.
When you have guys at that position who can catch passes consistently, it changes the whole offense. There's a reason why Gronkowski left Tampa Bay and then they didn't win another playoff game, because he's a difference maker. He not only was he a consistent blocker, but he can get open, and even if he's not open, he knows how to use his body to shield defenders and to make very tough catches, man. It's like the best security blanket when you've got a guy that big that can make catches. What that guy can do for us. Now, Hugh Freeze doesn't necessarily use tight ends like traditional tight ends. They kind of like just hybrid wide receivers. All you got to do is put a guy out there that is very hard to defend and that big and can catch the ball, and it should make a world of difference. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most on offense.
All right.
Listen, I am an Avery Jones guy. I think he can come in and start at center. Listen, I saw the difference. I saw the difference in this offensive line when Council moved to center.
Yeah.
Having a guy with experience that can anchor the offensive line is super valuable. Somebody who understands what blocking assignments are supposed to be and has a little bit of dog in them at center is important, man. And I think Avery Jones can be a guy that can come in and make an impact on the way that we function as a unit in the offensive line. So I'm going to go with Avery Jones as the guy who I'm most excited about, because I think that he can come in and be our center day one. And if for some reason Connor Lew is as exceptional as people think, he can kick out to be a guard, and we're going to have a ridiculous front five.
O-line is a good pick.
Yeah.
Right? Because we need them to be good for everybody else to be good. Right?
For sure.
So I agree. except for my pick because special teams. But like, again, for everybody else's pick, if you're not picking O-line, you need. I think that's a great pick.
Let me go grab some comments because you guys have been giving your thoughts. I definitely want to acknowledge some of those. Eric Coleman, appreciate the super chat. Says, been a while since I caught a live shows. Good to have you with us. War Eagle at you, good sir. Let's see. Kyle Sweat says, my pick is the Tulsa tackle, Dylan Wade. We're about to give Ashford some time to put some sweet touch on them balls.
Touch on balls.
So
hashtag Manscaped. They should sponsor the show.
Let me look into that.
Yeah, sure. yeah. Tune in, Manscaped people.
So yeah, Dylan Wade. But again, I took my pick, Avery Jones. I think the center position is going to be really important for sure. That's kind of the QB of the O line. So I think Avery Jones becomes very important in that regard. Some of you guys have commented, and let me grab Greg Rees. He says he wants a Fairweather fans shirt.
That's wonderful.
I like that.
That's wonderful.
Man, this chat.
That's wonderful.
This chat is undefeated.
Yeah, man, I like that.
Fairweather fans.
I like that.
That's beautiful.
I like that.
That's culture.
Let's as Ike begins to make a mental note of that, let's pivot and talk defense. Who's your defensive pickup that's got you excited? Who do you think will make some noise in the spring on the defensive side of the ball coming out of the portal? I will start.
Start with yourself so nobody takes yours. Start with yourself.
Start with me.
Yeah.
I'm going Austin Keys here. Austin Keys. Linebacker has been a point of emphasis and concern. I like the Tolan pickup, but I want someone in the middle who can play downhill, who can get everyone set up, who can run the defense. And I think stopping the run is key in this defense. And I think we picked up a guy with good size who can move. I'm interested to see what Austin Keys can do in the spring. He's the guy I'm most excited about. We missed a kid from Wake Forest. I can't think of his name, but he was an edge player. He was a speed rush guy. I was excited about him. I think he committed to Oklahoma. Chat, I think you may know who that is. You can help me out with who that
I know
guy
you talk
is.
about. Yeah.
I was really down when he picked Oklahoma, but him being gone, us picking up Austin Keys is my guy. So with that, B. Will, who do you like?
Rodgers. I want to see Rodgers getting their muck stuff up. I want to see what type of impact he can have. From what I saw reported on him from like some of the Kentucky press before he transferred, he was improving every season. He was a 5-star recruit, which is a big deal, but he got some snaps in his freshman year. He played more than next year. So last year was his third season, I believe. He was starting, and he was really starting to flash. Now, we should be able to get the fruits of the labor, the fruits that were sown in those first 3 seasons. That should be building towards a phenomenal fourth year or senior season. Maybe not technically senior. I don't know how much he played his first year, but we should be getting the biggest payoff of his development this season. I want to see what that looks like. We haven't had a guy command as much attention in the middle as Derrick Brown was the last one. I mean, but he was special. I wonder if Rodgers can be that special. Derrick Brown wasn't that special his first couple of years. It took him a minute to learn how to play with effort. He actually remarked, Derrick Brown did, about he was asked in the NFL Combine, how do we know we're going to get the Derrick Brown from your senior season and not the season before? And he was like, because that player doesn't exist anymore. Because he learned how to give effort and be that difference maker every down, every game. And some of that is maturity for these guys. Some of that is maturity and learning how to give that effort all the time. I don't know if effort was necessarily Rodgers' issue, but it seems like he's building towards something special. Hopefully we get a Derrick Brown-like impact from him in the middle.
He said that on our show as well, too. Hashtag building rapport. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. We had Derrick Brown on. Ike and I did.
That's probably where I heard that from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he told us a lot of things about, the transition from the NFL and the process. So, yeah, I like that pick. My guy is, I'm going to butt in here, is Demario Tolan. LSU fans were in shambles about this transfer.
Yeah, man.
crying on social media, right? Like, oh my God, I wish him nothing but the worst. Like, they were upset, and they were, they were upset.
That's how you can tell what type of player you're getting. If the other fan base is like, oh man, wish you the best, it's been great. Do we want this dude? I don't know. I want you to be mad he's leaving.
Yeah, they were upset. And I was like, why are they so upset about this guy leaving? Because I didn't know much about him. So I went back and watched some stuff and, did some research. And I'm like, okay, we might be getting a player at linebacker. Now, beside offensive line, I don't even know. Like, it might be close. What's the weakest position group on this team?
Linebacker.
It's definitely linebacker, right? So Tolan coming in to maybe captain the defense, right? And be the guy to make sure that everybody's assignment sound. They know what their gap assignments are. And they're able to plug, keep guys from getting to the second level in the run game, which we didn't do a good job of last year. It's going to be super important. So I'll be watching him this spring. He's my guy. He's my potential difference maker. I was just in shock how, like, LSU fans didn't even pretend like, no, we don't care. Like, we'll just next guy up.
Right.
They were like, crap, he's going.
I have a theory. I think he always wanted to come to Auburn.
I do too.
I think he always wanted to come to Auburn, but for whatever reason, the previous staff could not close on this guy.
Similar to Keldrick Faulk. I think it's pretty much the same thing. Guys absolutely wanted to be here, but were not fans of the last administration. And that changing of hands is what turned it for us.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it was about, because the head coach of LSU spoke highly of this kid. It wasn't like they didn't recognize him. It wasn't like he didn't have an opportunity to see the field and get significant playing time next year.
Right.
He was just somewhere where he wanted to be somewhere else. The opportunity came, he took it. So that's my theory.
Either that or his girlfriend broke up with him and he's trying to get away from her. But Auburn has 11 completely valid reason, by the way. Like, you were so toxic, I'm going to Auburn. They had 11 pickups in the portal. Tolan is one of 8 guys with a composite rating of 0.9 or better. This was an excellent portal class for Auburn.
Yeah,
100%. This was an excellent portal class for Auburn. Now, I know there are some services out there rating portal classes, I guess. Now, I won't say who they are, but, like, you guys know who they are. And I want to say we had the second.
We were 2 and some. I saw us 1 at one point. I think somebody else picked up another person, and they may have jumped us for the number 1 spot. But yeah, we're top 3 everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this was a good. I thought this was a great pickup, and I hope it pans out that way. If it doesn't, then we're deleting this live from the from the library.
Deleting the live, the whole live. Throw the whole live.
Somebody's gonna clip it and see Mike G was excited about Tolan and he didn't do shit.
Hey man, I was just talking to Ike about this the other day. I'm not afraid to be wrong. I do not care about being wrong, because the fun is being wrong and then having to come back and be wrong and answer to your boys about that is the most fun you will ever have, is talking to your boys and end up being wrong about anything, sports, the girl you was dating, whatever it is. It's always fun.
All that.
The girl you was dating hurts.
Really. I know
it hurts, but after you get over it, though,
I just got sad. I was like, man, I've had that conversation just way too many times.
Me. Okay. All right.
We'll see.
Ike, I saved this, Corey, but before you give yours, Corey wants to know. I saved this for this moment, Corey. You're welcome. He's thinking Cowboys 31-28 today. Ike's thoughts. This is I like how he posed this. What you got, Ike?
Yeah, so I think Elijah McAllister is probably the guy that I would go with, because with the need for quality edge rushers in today's games, you have a lot of we don't really have a lot of depth at the edge for Auburn right now that has had playing experience. So Elijah McAllister having SEC experience and coming in, being able to step in day one and at least provide some stability for that room, I think is going to be super important. I like his motor.
boy's
and
good,
I like
B.
a lot of the things that he provided for that Vanderbilt defense that, listen, was kind of an underrated defense in our league last year, and he was a big part of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing him come in, step in, just give some mentorship to some of the young guys and come out there and kind of be a clutch, critical playmaker for us. And hopefully he'll be able to play some solid stuff in sub packages as well.
Blake?
He didn't even break. No, he just act like
he
he
didn't
didn't
stop.
the
He didn't
question.
stop at all.
I
And then he gave us I like his motor line. Like, oh my God. He did not say I like his motor. It's a guy with a high motor.
He does have a high motor. If you go watch him play, man, he doesn't give up on plays a lot. A play will definitely be to the opposite side. He'll chase it down. He's a high motor guy.
Okay.
Gotcha. Blake O agrees with you, and he says Elijah McAllister is my defensive pick because he's so mature and he has a high understanding of what he's doing.
Yep.
I think he will be team captain.
That's an interesting thought, whether or not a transfer can come in and be a team captain, right? Because he does have the experience, and I think a lot of guys will look to him for that. Early pick, I'm going to throw it out there right now. I think Jason Jones ends up being a team captain this year.
Ooh, I like that pick.
Okay.
I like that pick.
I like
that pick.
Okay.
I like that pick. Listen, if you're going to be a team captain as a transfer, that's all about the spring, right?
For sure.
That's all about how his spring goes and whether he's a vocal leader on the field and is just kind of taking over there. That's going to be about play and all the quiet leadership that it takes to be a team captain, because a lot of what we see when they pick, we don't see a lot of what they do to get picked team captain.
For sure.
Right. It's in the meeting rooms.
But you're going to see everything in that new facility because there's cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Bro,
Yeah, sure.
we walked through that thing. They were like, yeah, it's like a camera recording all your workout sessions. They can, like, your movements throughout the facility. They going to know who's out there working for real this year, bro.
Right.
It ain't no cheat days.
Yeah. Like when you come in to do work on your own, the cameras are there.
Yeah.
And listen, they may not be able to be out there during some of that summer work, but they can check the cameras and see. Now, if you are familiar with how the old athletic department looked, well, I mean, that building's still there. The coaches' offices have a balcony that faces the practice fields. So they could come out on the balcony and see who's working and who's not out there. Now, it's a different prospect if you're in the indoor facility, but I was told, even under Brian Harsin, they used to check the cameras to see who was coming into the indoor facility every day, the indoor practice fields, to put in extra work. Now, who were some of those guys? Shedrick Jackson, Jay Fair, who is my pick to break out at wide receiver this year. Malcolm Johnson in there catching balls every day.
Pause.
Trying to make sure no matter what touch you put on them balls, they can catch it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, on the jug machine. So, like, I think that with a lot of extra guys, he had to wipe his glasses off. I think with all the new guys that are coming in on off days and during the summer, that practice facility should be full. It should be packed. They should be fighting for space. You guys are over there, stay away from us. We're trying to, we're trying to catch. Or we're hitting the sleds, or we're doing whatever it takes to make a name for yourself. Because under this new staff, even though they're very personable and, I've heard some good things about them, it sounds to me, from what I know, and I've been told, nothing is going to be given. They're going to make sure it's an absolute war for every position this spring. So, I don't know. Just my thought.
So I wanted to be. Let's some of you guys have commented. You've given some of your thoughts. Let's check it out. Blake Robinson, good to have you on here, sir. He says Justin Rogers is his guy. I believe that's what you said, B. Phil Petway, glad to have you with us, man. Dylan Wade on offense. Tolan on defense. Wesley Hilson says Dylan Wade and Austin Keys on defense. So we see a few linemen here. Cleveland Brown says Lawrence Johnson. He mentioned Lawrence Johnson here, but he has Tolan is my breakout defensive player. I like to see all of that there. Alan Berry came back with an extra joke. Breaking news: Stetson Bennett just got approved for an 18th year of eligibility. Also, I was saying I don't know if the kid's parents would approve of Hugh Freeze. I guess in terms of his past. That's what he was talking about.
Part of it.
I don't know if any parents are asking him about his past on the recruiting visits, but I'll tell you what. I think in his introductory press conference, if you watched it, he kind of maybe cut those questions off at the pass by saying, I understand I've made mistakes. Give me a chance to earn your trust. Right? So if it does come up, I think the tagline is the same.
Yeah.
Sitting in a living room. Like, listen, I'm infallible as a human, and it might even make him in some ways more relatable. Because how many of those kids that he's recruiting have made mistakes along the way, or their parents have made mistakes? I think it might make them more relatable than somebody sitting up in the living room acting like they're perfect.
Yeah.
Because there are no perfect people, no matter what it looks like on the outside. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again for the people in the back. It's time to talk football. Unless he himself gives us something else to talk about.
Sure.
And I think that is where it's going to be on the recruiting trail as well, too. Now, I will say this. We're not going to do this thing where we look at every player that ever played for Hugh Freeze and they do something and say, see, he played under Hugh Freeze. You can't control what these kids do 24/7.
Right.
They're kids.
Right.
A lot of them. Some of these kids come in at 17. They get in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think that it's fair to coaches to hold them 100% responsible for all player behavior.
No, I mean, that's
You can only do
that's not. That's not.
I promise you, every program in America has a kid kicked off for doing something stupid.
Sure.
Every program. You just don't hear about it. It's not always highly publicized. Because you know what? Some of those kids aren't starters. It's not the Bryce Youngs all the time.
Right.
And when I say, I'm not talking about Bryce in particular, but
but he's not a high profile player.
Right.
So
we don't hear about it. It could be a second or third string guy, and they kick him off.
And typically that's who it is.
Yeah, because they got in trouble and they did something. And do I think that's a reflection on the coach? No. There are like 100 people on the team.
Right.
So if you're telling me 3 kids out of 100 act stupid, and you're going to see that's a reflection on the coach, get out of here, man.
Is anybody really out there trying to make that argument?
Yes. Listen, I'm not going to. I'm not going to give it any air because I don't want people to go look for it. But I saw it on social media where it was like pending coming out. Some guy under Hugh Freeze at Liberty did something. Okay, cool. What did he do? And maybe we hold him accountable for what he did.
Right.
I don't know why it was necessary to say that he played under Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing that you can really hold coaches accountable for is, was this happening consistently? Which means when these things came to you, did you stomp it out immediately and let these players know by setting an example that this thing will not be tolerated here, vis-a-vis what Gus Malzahn did when the sexual transgressions came across his desk with Landon Rice, was it?
Javon Robinson.
And Javon Robinson. Javon Robinson got
he was
prematurely.
He was wrong in the Javon Robinson case.
Right.
I think Gus was a little too heavy-handed.
But that's how you set that culture. You let these guys know none of that is going to fly here.
For sure.
I'll see you. Now, that's not a reflection on Gus that those guys made in one case a bad decision, in one case a poor relationship or whatever caused that situation with Javon Robinson. But you can control. I'm going to tell you how. If any thing like this happens, here's what's going to happen. So the rest of you guys are on alert. That's what you could do.
Okay, B. So the message to the players in this particular situation is what? It is, you know what? In a Javon Robinson case, what I hope this young man learned. What he took away was not, see, I was unfairly criticized. I was unfairly dismissed. Now he was.
Right.
But in the future, what you hope they learn is, as a high profile, as a public figure, as somebody who's very visible, I am responsible for the situations I put myself in that might allow somebody to point the finger at me. right? That includes where you go, how late you stay out, and who you surround yourself with.
Right.
Man, as a kid, I can't tell you how many times I heard, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if you put yourself in situations, and these players, I mean, they have a difficult job. You know, all four of us went to school with the Cadillacs and the Ronnie Browns and the Jason Campbells. And so we know what it was like. You could see it on campus. You could see people trying to leech on them. You could see people just, you know what? They weren't even like when they used to go play. I'll never forget this story because he's one of the scariest human beings I've ever been around. Brandon Jacobs in 2003 used to go down to the Student Activity Center to play basketball with regular students. Now, let me tell you, when it looked like Godzilla versus Ant-Man, and not the big version, it was ugly. And this one particular time, I think it was maybe like an intramural game or something. He got into it with the ref about a call. And I'm telling you, this ref looked so terrified. Right? He was like, okay, Brandon, it's okay. I'll change the call. Right? And I'm joking. But Brandon got kicked out of the act. That's what we used to call it back in the day. We used to call it the act. And shortly after, they banned all the football players from going to play intramural sports. They were like, listen, when you go play intramural, there are people who are so jealous of your status that when you jump up to dunk, because a lot of them could, they're trying to take your legs out. They're trying to hurt you. Because that's the only way they can compete with your superior athleticism. So you can't put yourself in that position. And I think that is applicable to everything these players do. But the coach is not always 100% responsible for what people do with their free time when they're not on campus.
Yeah.
So I just hope we're not still like, the people beating this drum about Hugh Freeze and his past and all this stuff, man, let it go. Or if you just don't want to watch, don't watch. We're good with that. You don't have to tell us that you're not watching.
Well, how is you going to know I'm not watching, Mike, if I don't tell you I'm not watching? You have to know that I'm doing it because it's my freedom of speech to protest out loud.
Well, you know what I hate about it is that it's not that they have that conviction. It's that it feels like you're forcing that conviction on me.
For sure. That's literally
absolutely what it is.
Yeah, you're trying to make me feel bad about not having that same conviction. So you're screaming at the top of your lungs. See, I told you, just because he brought in a few recruits, blah, 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 blah. Right? Mm-hmm. What? Okay. All right. I'm over it. I'm ready to talk football. Now, listen, if he does something, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. But I think that's fair. You deal with issues as they come up.
Right. But at some point, right? Like, and I'm telling you, a lot of these people who keep digging into the past, right? I think Hugh Freeze said it best at his press conference. I thought he won the press conference. He said, there's a lot of people in this room that if the spotlight had been on their life the way it has been on his, they have a lot of uncomfortable things to explain.
Right.
Because our transgressions aren't public.
Right.
And his is.
Right.
I'm telling you. Now, I was a good kid. I'll tell you, with kids today, I would not want to be a parent today. I wouldn't. I think it's
thanks, Mike.
I about to say thanks.
No. I mean, listen, you guys have a much harder job than your parents had, because we used to go outside and play for like hours, and we had those cell phones, and it was just like, come back before the street light comes on. You can't do that anymore. Your kids will get snatched up, right? And kids have access to so much stuff that we didn't have access to. They do. They've got access to a bunch of stuff, right? So I think by that means coaches have a much harder job that grows harder day by day. And when you look at it, even before the internet and before all this stuff, right? I remember one time my parents used to have this thing about like, no. They would just say no for no reason. Hey, Mom, can I have this? No. Why? Because I said so. Okay, thanks. That feels good. And one day I was in the PX with my mom, And this is way back with God's Property, the Kirk Franklin CD.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is a funny story.
If it's not funny, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, by the way.
I wanted this CD so bad, but I got so conditioned hearing no, I wasn't going to ask for it. So I was like, you know what? Just going to take it. Right. So I went to the electronics section. I took the CD. I went to the clothing section, acted like I was trying on a shirt, put it down, in my pants, walked to the front of the store, and there were 2 trench coats there waiting on me when I got to the front. This was in the 90s. Right? They had cameras everywhere around that thing. They were like, come with us, son. I'm like, I thought I was smart. When we got there, they pulled the CD out and they were like, oh, it's Kirk Franklin. So at least he's a good kid. And I was so terrified when they were like, what's your mom's name? I gave them her maiden name. And then my dad showed up and that was worse. Right? And let me tell you something. The only people who knew that story were my dad, my mom, and my sister. Right? But if everybody had known, they'd be like, oh, that kid's a thief.
Right.
Now, let me tell you something. That ended my thieving career quickly. But I will tell you this. I can think of so many things that I did. Well, not so many things, but I can think of some things that I did that I would not want to come to light.
Facts.
Right. And and a lot of us, if you're watching this right now, I think that you have too.
Right.
Oh,
you would think at least one thing. And you are a lie if you don't have at least one thing that you would want to come to light if somebody found, if a bunch of people found
and
it.
It'd be varying degrees of stuff, right? And so people's point is, well, it's not what Hugh Freeze did, but that's a terrible point because you've done something that if everybody knew, you would be.
There are things that you're already embarrassed about, but only a certain small subset of people know about it. And yet you're very embarrassed about it. What if the whole Southeast region country knew about it?
What if it was a headline on ESPN? Right. Just think about it this way. What if it was
and now you're labeled as this thing that you've done in your past for the rest of your life because nobody's ever going to let you forget it. In retrospect, really great story. Not that funny, but
the fact that it was a Kirk Franklin CD that you stole, that is funny.
Stealing a Kirk Franklin CD is a little funny.
That's funny. That was a funny part. Thank you, B.
No problem. No problem.
A great example of what you mean.
That was funny.
Y'all laughing now about it not being funny, so it was funny. That's the logic I'm going with.
Listen, let me grab this super chat by Imani. What we do without you, Imani. Robbie's going to remind us of Lamar Jackson. Just what? Let me ask you guys a question. Can we say just watch?
I was about to say, I think you ruined your entire thing by putting just watch at the end. But
it makes me cringe. Like just watch is like.
Has he ruined? Is that like? Do we have to put that in the same category? Yeah. Boom.
There are some things we just need to let go of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom wasn't bad. It's just that it got tired because we wasn't booming enough on the recruiting trail.
There
wasn't nothing to boom about no more.
I was like, boom, 8 and 5.
Yeah.
Boom, another prospect that you'll never see the field.
Oh, no. Yeah, boom, right. We got a 5-star. It didn't pan out. I got old.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, guys. Listen, we're about to get to the giveaway. We're giving away a War Report mug courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to enter to win. We've kind of gone over, guys, so we're not going to wait around. Ike, take it away, sir.
I mean, I wasn't waiting anyway. Let's do it. Who want this mug? It's not really a want to thing. Maybe you send good thoughts. But whoever had the best thoughts, some whack.
Some whack.
Are you here?
Whack?
Yeah.
Let us know if you are here.
Give us a phonetic pronunciation of that if you're here.
For sure.
What did
While
you
we went on
that?
B. Parham says Walker Howard, father Jamie Howard, would not want his son playing at AU. 1994 LSU Auburn game. Jamie was LSU quarterback where he threw 5 interceptions. 3 interceptions returned for a TD. AU did not score an offensive touchdown in that game.
Thank you for that history because I did not know that.
So his father would be a little salty.
So his dad threw 5 interceptions, if I'm reading
right?
Against Auburn.
Yeah,
And then we
three
were
pick sixes.
3 pick sixes, and then we won without scoring on offense.
Yeah,
That
that's
sounds very
phenomenal.
Auburn-like.
That is phenomenal.
I believe that happened. Like,
Yeah.
like even if you just said, if you put that on a list of like multiple choice questions, like which one of these
things happened?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know. We still got to do
that.
trivia. We still
I would
got to do
pick that.
trivia in addition to giveaway, but the research on that would have to be impressive week after week. Some walk says after 2 years, finally he wins. Congratulations,
Have you
sir.
been watching us for 2 years?
Yeah, man, we've been around.
We've been at this for how long? We've been at this?
around.
Like 3.
This is year 3.
This is year 3. Yeah, this is year 3.
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations. Email us business at the War Report. We need your physical address and name because I refuse to believe that your name is some walk. We need your full name, physical address. Congratulations. Enjoy your mug.
Wait, let's say this correctly. Technically, we're in year 4, right?
Technically, year 4.
Yes.
We're with the beginning of year 4.
2020. When we had like
This will be
10
our
viewers.
3rd full season covering because we started like in the middle of a year.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 2020 it was we didn't have a lot of viewers. We had Lawrence Robinson and whoever was in view of his iPhone. 2021, Gus. End of 2020, Gus got fired, and a lot of you guys came in. And then last year, so we're in year 4.
John Brandon says Mike G felt called to steal the gospel.
Funny. So listen, when I tell you guys the beating I took for this transgression was epic. And my mom said, "Why'd you do it?" And I was like, "The devil made me do it." And
That's funny.
And she said, "I'm gonna beat the devil out of you." I was like, "I was God. No, it wasn't."
You should have told that as part of the original story. That's funny.
I couldn't. I was trying everything to get her to stop. Spoiler alert: she did not. She kept going for a while, and I got the message. Yeah, it's past the statute of limitations for CPS. So
I would think so.
So we're good.
Yeah,
I'm good to tell that story.
I'm gonna run through a few more comments before we talk to basketball. Blair Coker says, "I hope you all can get an interview with Sir Charles. Mr. Barkley has to be the best promoter of AU. Whether he agrees with the direction or not, Sir Charles is always there. Thanks, Charles."
And he's going to say what he thinks, no matter what he thinks, right? So, I think that he would be a Hugh Freeze supporter as well as somebody who has had, again, his public transgressions be very out there in the media.
For sure.
Everything you do. I mean, I think he understands that point more than anybody. So if he's not on board with this hire, I would be shocked.
I'd be surprised too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. Steve Radley says 4th and Kiffin got Spencer Sanders because I think he thought Freeze wanted him and he was trying to show Freeze he can out recruit him. Freeze just played him because he really didn't want him anyway.
Oh, 40 chess.
I don't think the 40 Yahtzee. Remember 40 Yahtzee?
Oh, okay, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
I know you're not excited about that.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah.
That gives me a headache.
From what I can tell, and this is just me speculating, the way that the dominoes are falling down behind the scenes, usually if a guy's committed to a place within a week, like I remember this, the quarterback from Wake, Hartman, somebody who covers college sports announced that he was hitting the portal and said likely destination is Notre Dame. He's in the portal and you know where he's going? Yeah, because he knew where he was going. Because Hartman knew where he was going. I feel like some of this stuff is already done before kids even get in the portal. And maybe not. Maybe some of them, they actually do need to take a visit. Maybe some of them are like, yeah, I'm pretty much on board. Just let me come down there and see y'all. Talk to some of the players and then we'll make this a done deal. In the case of Spencer Sanders, he was in the portal for like, what, a month? And the portal was about to close? The deals that he thought were out there were not. The interest for him was not what he thought it was going to be. I don't think he was trying. I don't think Lane thought, well, let me get him from them. If we wanted Spencer Sanders, we would have had him. We got some of the best.
You muted, Ike.
Yeah, I agree with that firmly. I think if this staff wanted Spencer Sanders to be at Auburn, he'd be at Auburn. I don't think that whatever they saw in him, it wasn't what they were looking for. I don't think.
Right. We got Demario Tolan within a week. We got Keys within a week. We got Justin Rogers within a week. What do you think would be the
We got
holdup?
Avery Jones after he committed somewhere else.
Yeah,
Right.
they said it was a day. They called him the day before he was packing to drive to Illinois.
Was
they
he
called
really?
him like,
Yes.
Yes, 100%. He was leaving to head to his commitment at Illinois, and they was like, "Hey, before you go,
That's why
quick,
Bert.
come holler at
That's
us."
why
And
Bert.
then
That's
he got
that
back.
on to victory.
Listen. That's why
Hey.
I call Brett Burt, because he
On to
always
vi-
been a hater.
Yeah, that's
Bert
why
Bert
Brett
got
was
in his feelings about that because he all had him but secured, and then Auburn came in and swooped him in the 9th hour.
With the bag. Listen,
right.
I have heard so many good things about On to Victory.
Great
Like-
things.
Great things. All right. And so
Good things, right?
I'm just telling you, I would be shocked if they weren't involved in that, right?
Yeah.
In some kind of way, and in a legal way. But like, if it was just like, hey, it looks like they want this kid, and then just said, keep the party going.
Right.
Just turn right around, hit south. A side note, Joe Burrow is 9 for 9 for 105 yards and 2 TDs in the first quarter versus the Bills.
Special.
Insane.
100% that dude.
Insane. Insane. My World of Sports says, any thoughts on Rashada? Will Freeze give him a call? Sorry if you've already talked about it.
No,
Nothing.
he's going to Colorado.
He's going with Deion.
If you guys listen to the Amen Corner, you'd have known this already because we definitely predicted this. We had one of the guys on the Amen Corner is a Florida guy.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the Amen Corner. He is going to Colorado.
Yeah, this week's episode was really good. If you haven't listened to it, follow us on podcast because that's podcast only content. You won't see that on YouTube.
But yeah, we talked about this like the minute the whole situation started happening with Rashada.
Right.
We predicted Rashada to Colorado. We also predicted McClain, who flipped his commitment from Miami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The cornerback, he flipped it to Colorado. We predicted that one as well.
The minute he didn't sign with Miami on signing day, it was over.
If you watched his interview during the Under Armour All-American game, when he was committed there and they were like, yeah, what did you like? Said like, you haven't signed anywhere. Is it still? And he's like, he just smiled at the camera. I was like, yeah, he's gone.
Right.
he's not going,
here.
bro. It's a done deal.
Yeah. But I mean, with Jaden Rashada, here's the thing. It's very public now that the breakdown was, here's how much money me and my family think I'm worth. Florida made some promises or however that worked. If you know that the guy's main thing is money, it's not that shouldn't be a concern, because a quarterback that is an elite difference-making quarterback, if whatever the number that was projected or rumored for Cam Newton, he was worth $13 million to Auburn University. Cam Newton was worth $13 million to Auburn University. There ain't that many Cam Newtons, though, man. Jaden Rashada has not thrown a college pass. How do you know how much he's going to be worth? Like, it's now out of hand. The NIL debacling is out of hand. It's going to have to be reined in somehow. I'm interested to see how it eventually happens, but I don't think you go chase a guy when you know that the main concern is money. Because you know that the only reason he didn't sign on the dot, well, he actually did sign, where he's not enrolled in Florida right now, is money. So you reportedly like the coaches or the program enough. It was just, who's going to give me the most money? That's where I'm going. That's not who you want on your team, in my opinion. That can be part of it. You can really like the coach and really like the system and really like the campus, and you want a reasonable offer that reflects your value. Cool. But don't let it just be about the money. I feel like that's the wrong guys to be chasing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've always been on this train about not. So this is something that Brian Harsin was trying to say that I think got misconstrued a lot about whether he was for or against NIL. He didn't want to recruit kids that just were coming for money.
Right.
Because if money is your only focus, once you have the money, are you going to try hard? This is a problem that happens at the NFL level. Guys get paid big contracts, and in the next year, it's their worst year ever. Right. Once they get that big check. So people pretending like that's not a valid point, that's disingenuous. Right. It is totally a valid point. And when you're talking about young men who are getting a bunch of money, and I can't stress this enough, with no money management skills. Because let me tell you something. And the four of us will tell you, part of being broke in college is that you don't go out and get in any trouble because going out costs money.
Like, think of how much trouble you got when you got your first refund check.
Right. And or just
I was
again,
broke and still got in plenty of trouble though, so I don't want to think about what I was like with money.
with
So,
money, right?
yeah.
Like,
Sure.
I'm just saying it was like it felt like one out of every three of us had a car.
Yeah,
Right.
And I can tell you, all these kids have cars now.
for sure. They have car clubs.
They have car
team now.
clubs.
Yeah.
So not only do they have money, they have transportation to get to the.
I wouldn't even call what we have cars compared to what these kids have now. I don't know what we were driving.
Right. So I mean, I think that is the thing that he was worried about. And that's what I got from his message. Now, it doesn't mean I'm against NIL. It just means that coaches have a harder job trying to decide whether a kid is going to continue to work after On to Victory drops that bag and be a good teammate and be focused on the things he needs to be focused on. Right? Is he going to show up to study hall? Is he going to get to practice on time? Because that was something else that we heard. Guys were just not showing up on time.
Mm-hmm.
And Gus let it go for a lot of them. And he wasn't putting up with it. So I agree with that part of how he managed. You're not going to just do what you want to do. Right? You're going to do what's required of you. Because you got your bag, but now it's time to play football. Now it's time to prepare like a champion. And if you on the practice field thinking about what you're going to do after practice with your bag, you're thinking about the wrong thing. Those kids will never be great.
Yeah.
Because you have to stay focused in the moment and the task at hand. Now, let me tell you something. When we started the War Report, we had a vision. It started with Ike. He brought the idea to me. We brought the idea to you guys. And then we worked our asses off. We're this close to 10,000 subscribers. Only 2% of YouTube channels ever achieved that. But it didn't happen because we just were la-la about it. Or we started making some money, and then after we got the money, we were like, oh, we can just go into cruise control. This is year 4. And we're still grinding. Every other conversation I have with Isaac is, whatever I got to do, I'm doing it. And year 4, we haven't quit. And we're going to keep going. And there's no amount of bag that's going to make me or you or any of us not focused on that task at hand. The people who are the greatest in history at what they do, they just focus on being great every day. The money takes care of itself. The bag comes because I am great. The problem with NIL is that we're giving kids the bag before they've earned it.
Yeah.
And it will be a problem. So I don't want anybody to hear I'm against it. I'm just saying, right? Like, it's tricky because it can't be based on performance.
Right.
Right? It can't be compensation based on performance. But make no mistake, there is a market value based on how you perform on the field.
Right.
Yeah, and the problem is that people aren't waiting to see what that mark. Like, listen, and I'm using Rashada as an example, but just purely as an example. Yes, he is going to come in and he's going to be a highly touted guy, but there's no way you know how it's going to pan out on the football field. And in his mind, I better get it now before my stock plummets, right?
Correct.
But I think that he's playing this backwards. Like, I need to get what I can now, but I need to prep for a bigger bag later, because where do you go after that? Is my like, if you're getting the rumored 13 million coming in the door, you didn't leave yourself very much room to negotiate later once you start playing like a Heisman caliber guy.
Right. Hope you got a good money manager. Okay.
So I don't know where he goes after that. Like, if you start paying kids in college $30 million to play football, bro, like what
kind of friends you think you have at that age?
I'm telling you,
what kind of life do you have?
Before the bags, it was a problem, right? The leechers were a problem. The cleat chasers was a problem. we had we had this thing we used to say in college, and it was like, this is way back in the early 2000s, but it was like, to get girls, you need 4 wheels, 3 letters, or 2 numbers. Those are all the people getting it, right? The 2 numbers were the athletes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. It was a problem then, 23 years ago.
Facts.
Now, imagine the dynamic that's created now with NIL when they very publicly know that you have money.
Right. Yeah, it's not a speculation about,
No.
his mom and daddy got money. He might make some money and be in the league in a couple of years. Like, no, he's got a bag today.
That today. Right. And so he has to, like, you not only.
Does the girlfriend going crazy at the NFL draft lose a little luster when he's already a millionaire before he gets to the draft?
Yeah, I don't even want to know what that does to the social circles in college. I mean, because you could see it. You could see the girls who were clearly trying to.
It was
bad.
bad.
The guy who was on
it
the
was
way
bad
up.
then.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was
but
clearly
like now,
potential. It was, and it was clearly potential.
The NFL and the NBA do a rookie symposium on groupies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be your freshman orientation at college now.
Yeah,
Right.
it might need to be a thing. It might need to be an accredited class at college. I'm getting 8 hours and how to avoid the groupies.
Which is something
It's funny.
Prime was trying
in
to
the
do.
class.
The first school to come up with that is going to get all the
Caesar.
new recruits.
Yeah, 8 credits, Caesar. Well,
No more organic gardening. It's
all right,
organic
that's how I was gonna
grouping.
go. Dr. James Brown.
That's
Organic
funny.
gardening.
Now all the
Oh,
girls
man.
be in the groupie class, man. You need to go sign up with. That defeats the purpose, guys.
They're gonna put up a map of campus and be like, all right, if you take this route to class, you're gonna run into this many groupies. So
This is the
best to
groupie
go-
zone right here.
Yeah, this is best to go around the Haley Center, down the street, and come
And
back
you
up Magnolia.
avoid Haley
There's
and
no,
Foy.
do not walk down the concourse. Just
Yeah.
Right.
avoid at all costs.
Right now we cut off the street between Haley Center and the old student union just to kind of bottle them here, right? Like, I'm just telling you, it's tough for these guys. I think, because it was tough before.
Yeah.
It was tough before. And then there are those rare moments where, the guys marry their college sweethearts. Cadillac did.
It happened a lot for the players down here.
Yeah,
Because-
Cadillac did.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of those guys. Because from time to time I would see when they come back and they share their wife on social media. I was like, I remember her.
Yeah, T.
Oh,
Will
that's
did.
crazy.
When I went
Right.
to Hugh
Yeah.
Freeze's press conference, I hadn't seen Evan in so long. And she came up to me. I don't think she recognized me because I definitely didn't recognize her. And she was like, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Williams. I'm Cadillac's wife." I was like, "Evan." And then we had a long conversation, and I was just so happy that was the person he ended up with.
Mhm.
Because let me tell you something. She stuck with him through a lot of stuff, through a broken clavicle, through, again, a lot of stuff in college. And it was just nice. That's not the reality of kids today. It's different, man. It's just very different. So Hugh Freeze has got to manage that as well, too. Right? He's got to manage these kids coming in with a bunch of money and, be, to your point, laying rules about accepted behavior and unacceptable behavior. And then having the testicle fortitude to say, I don't care if you're a 5-star. These were the rules. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Right? He might have to make an example out of somebody at some point.
And so NIL in a way that it's been detrimental to the ability for coaches to recruit because guys can come in and get paid and be like, well, I don't really need you. You need me. Yeah, I do need, like Jaden Rashada was kind of that thing where it's like, listen, you don't have a quarterback in this class. You're the guy who probably should have stayed another year. Richardson decided to leave. So you really need me. And you lost a couple of recruits coming into signing day. So you really, really need me to save face for the fan base. And that's why the price was so high, right? Because he's kind of holding them hostage. Different from that, for a lot of players who don't have that much hype, you can come in and say, well, yeah, we want to play you and make some promises that make sense to the player. But the coach decides who gets on the field. To maximize your NIL potential, you have to play. There is nobody who is going to be paying tens of thousands of dollars a local business to a guy who's just on the bench waving the towel all game.
Right.
You have to play to maximize your value. And even though the transfer portal kids be like, well, I'm just going to leave. It's like, okay, you could leave. You've got an avenue to play here. If you get too big for your britches, you're going to lose some significant time because you're not going to play. That is now, I thought NIL was going to be all negative for the coaches, but that's actually the one positive is I want to put you on the field so you can be productive and your value can rise as well. You've got to meet these standards before I do that.
Good conversation, gentlemen. Listen, we went a little bit over. We will talk basketball at a later date. Speaking of a later date, we do have an announcement to make. We will not be doing the midweek report on Wednesday.
That's right.
That's because we'll be doing it on Thursday. So check with us at 7:00 on Thursday night. We will return to do the midweek report then. Also, we got a game on Wednesday. It seems like every Wednesday we've had a game this year. Different than last year, it almost seems. But we have a game on Wednesday, so we will be moving this week's midweek report to Thursday. So check with us then, guys. We will see you then. We may even do a post and some things on social media just so you guys who may have missed this announcement can see it. But we will be doing the midweek report this week at 7 p.m. on Thursday. Ike, tell the folks what they need to be doing, sir.
Becoming members would be awesome. We appreciate everybody who has already become members of the War Report. $5.99 gets you to patron level, $3.99 supporter. Whatever level you decide to join as a member, we appreciate it. Even if you can't join as a member, we want you to subscribe. That is free. We appreciate those of you who have gifted. Damian, once again, saw you do the gifted memberships today. If you want to gift memberships, you can. Like right now from the live chat, the first month of membership will be on you. You didn't get an opportunity to win something today, you can go to the store. warreport.com is your place to grab all of the War Report merch. That's anything from shirts to hoodies to mugs, whatever we got in there, man. You can go ahead and cop that and rep the War Report wherever you are. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report on all podcasting platforms. A lot of great conversations happening. If you're only listening on YouTube, you are missing half of the content that we're putting out there, seemingly, man. So you got to get over there to the Auburn Express if you like the audio formatted stuff. And we appreciate that. And we appreciate all of you for continuing to rock with your boys.
Yeah.
Do us a favor, guys, and share this content on social media. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Help us get to 10K. I mentioned social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at The War Report. We're TW Report on TikTok. Zipping out, guys, but we got a lot of content with morning drops, podcast, midweek report on Thursday at 7 this week. We'll see you then. As always, enjoy the rest of your weekend and War Eagle.
War Eagle.